Pastor Carl Lewis and myself, Clement Humphrey. Rebuilding the Black Family is dedicated to discussing principles essential to building strong, productive, and successful families. Please join the conversation by liking, following, and sharing us from our Facebook page, and that's facebook.com/Foundation for Life Church and facebook.com/SPR Live FM. Now, let's join Pastor Carl and me, Clement Humphrey.
Not yet. I'll give you.
No, I know. I was just making noise with my feet. I'm sorry.
Okay. Okay.
You know, there are challenges we all face in our lives and families, you know, including decisions to life's questions, dealing with our singleness, if you're married, marital situations, working with our children. Some of you have gone through a separation in a marriage or a divorce, and some of you are dealing with life after divorce. How do I pick up the pieces and move on? And you know, we've discovered that God's Word, it gives answers to help us face and overcome these challenges. And at Foundation for Life Family Church, we are building lives and families on the sure foundation of Jesus Christ. So I want to invite you today to attend one of our services Sunday at 11 a.m. at 55 Beverly Hills Drive in Toronto, in Ontario. The postal code is M3L, 1A2. Would love to see you, to help you to build your life and family on the sure foundation of Jesus Christ. Oh, I can't do it. Sorry. You want me to do the whole thing again? You know, there are challenges that we all face in life. You know, if it's, there can be questions to life's, oh, can I do it again? I'm sorry. You know, there are challenges that we all face in life, and they include answers to life's questions, dealing with our singleness. Those of us who are married, you know, navigating the married life, raising our children. Some of you might have gone through a separation or a divorce. Some of you are dealing with, how do I pick up the pieces after a traumatic separation and divorce? And what we've discovered is that God's Word, it gives answers to all of these critical situations and challenges that we may face at a given time in our lives. And we at Foundation for Life Family Church, we're focused, we're purposed to build lives and families on the sure foundation of Jesus Christ. So I invite you to attend one of our services Sunday at 11 a.m. at 55 Beverly Hills Drive in Toronto, Ontario, M3L1A2. Give us a call if you need directions, 416-614-1220, or our website, foundationforlife.ca. We would love to see you and help you to build your life and family on the sure foundation of Jesus Christ.
all you gotta do, when I sit down, press stop, press F8, we're live, and then transition. Transition, when I sit down, when I sit down, stop, F8, we're live. Got it?
So I'm giving you to the end of November, and that's it.
That's right.
End of November. I'm going to call your name over the air. No, you know I wouldn't do that. I'm too nice to do that, man. Thanks, Rocky. We appreciate you. Oh, we can go.
We live?
We're live. We're ready to go. All right.
All right.
Thanks for tuning in to another Rebuilding the Black Family with Claremont and myself, Pastor Carl. Great to have you again. You know, Claremont, I feel like I haven't been here for weeks. I don't know, it's only 1 week we missed, but it just seems like such a long
Technically,
time.
we didn't really miss a week.
But we did.
It appeared as
It
though
just
we missed a
appeared
week.
that way.
Yeah.
Okay, but I'm telling for me anyway. But anyway, good to have you again. Good to see you.
Yeah,
You've been
it's a lot of neat stuff has been happening. A lot of neat stuff has been going on, but you know, God has been good. I can't complain.
And we had our first snowfall. And I heard, you know, viewers, you've heard of me talk about, what's the name of those cupcakes again?
Divine cupcakes.
Divine cupcakes.
You
know
missed
what?
it.
An order,
You missed
an
it.
order was
missed it.
sent to us,
I-
and I'm sure one of those cupcakes or two had my name on it. But I was told that, you know, a certain
That's
person,
the week you
a
missed.
certain person said, you know, they couldn't keep them long the due date.
The due date.
And
No,
so
it has an
those
expiration
divine
date, you know.
Cupcakes
So it
found
was
a
divine.
certain divine destination. That's not
know,
my stomach, somebody else's. We're not going to give any names. But anyway.
But it was divine indeed.
was divine.
But we planned for especially for the Christmas season.
Okay,
we're gonna
wonderful.
get some.
We
We're
can-
gonna
and
get
you
some
can- you'll see
divine.
us eat them on air,
Right.
And you know, maybe also we'll tell you how you can get your set or your order of divine cupcakes. But again, great to have you. Thanks for tuning in. Really appreciate those of you who commented and liked our last program. There's a very good number of people who viewed that and even comments and shared it. We really appreciate that. So keep it coming. I was at an event recently and someone said, "Oh, I see your program every week," and I wouldn't have known that he
Really.
number. Yeah, so people are watching this, and so
What I like about live TV, you get to do this ever so often.
Ever so often you get to do this.
what's that?
I get to shift things around.
You get to shift things around. Yeah. Alrighty. So again, don't forget, you can also tune into some of our previous programs on SBR Live, going into sbrlive.com. And also, if you want to listen to some of our teachings that I've done from our church at Foundation for Life Family Church, you can check in at foundationforlife.ca. We have a lot of free resources that will help you to build your life and family on the sure foundation of Jesus Christ. Now, what we want to do is this. We want to do part 2 of the power of fathers. And Claremont will be joining me back. He's just making some adjustment to some things. But you know, the last time we were emphasizing the importance of fathers staying connected to their children. And I want to emphasize something I believe I did say in our last program on this subject, is that even if you're separated from your child's mother, even if you were never married to your child's mother, however that child, or however you, whatever your part was in bringing that child into the world, I want to encourage you, men, to really do your best to stay connected to that child. If it means apologizing for being absent in the past, or not doing what you should have done, do whatever it takes to be involved and be in the life of your child, because I'm telling you, that child needs you. And so I want to say this just by way of review, just a couple things, and I'll take it off into some other things. You see, we said last week that just the importance of fathers, and it's really important that we emphasize this, because it's critical that we underline some of these things. Excuse me, my technology's kind of gone funny here. I don't know what happened. Oh, maybe not. Oh, here we go. Alrighty. All right. So remember, we said this. According to a study that was done by where was it? It was the Child and Family Research in Texas, and this has been further proved by other studies, similar studies I've actually seen myself, talking about the impact that dads or fathers have on their children. Just a few quick ones. That the children are 39% more likely to earn mostly A's in school when they have an involved father. So the operative word is involved. Also, they're 45% less likely to repeat a grade, 60% less likely to be suspended or expelled from school, twice as likely to go to college and find stable employment after high school, 75% less likely to have a teen birth, and 80% less likely to spend time in jail. So again, it's really important, the involvement of children. Again, we're not saying, men, that we are perfect. Again, it might have been a separation, a divorce, but we're saying this: do whatever it takes to get involved and be in that child's life. Now, why this is so important, and why maybe I wanted to continue again, in between our first program, I was honored to deliver the pastoral message for a gentleman who was a deacon in a church, Evangel Temple, for probably 40 years. He's been in that church for longer than that. And so the family asked me if I'd share the pastoral message, and I might share a little bit about what I shared there. But the two sons were so precious in that you saw the impact of a father. You saw the impact of a father. You know, one of them said, you know, in growing up as a young man, so many of their friends never had a father. And they saw that, even if it wasn't something physical, they saw the emotional of people. They saw the challenges as a result of not having that father in their life, and they were spared that. And you know, and seeing, you know, how the honor with which they bestowed on their father on his homegoing day, that they were so blessed, so grateful that they had a man in their life who was strong, nonetheless, a disciplinarian, you know.
Necessary.
But obviously one who they love and respect and admire, and have taken on much of his traits, you know, in how they live. And they're married men today and both have children. And so it's really important that we emphasize this. And I know, ladies, you might say, you know, here we go again, Carl and Claremont, going on with this men thing and fathers. No, it's because all the stats prove it out. We want to emphasize the importance of men, the importance of fathers, and don't treat them as something disposable. Don't treat them as something that is just necessary to produce a baby. Like we said in our first program, mostly any man can produce offspring, produce seed. But you know what? Not every man is a father. Not every man who gives birth to a child or has a child is a father. And we're emphasizing men because, you know, we believe very strongly, and the scripture proves it, our society proves it, that men are critical. Fathers are important in the lives of their children. So that's why we're going to continue this part 2 of this emphasis on the power of fathers. And I love this is a power of fathers.
There is actually, yesterday I went to a visitation at a hospital visiting a friend of mine, and there was another young lady there who was talking to my friend, and they're sharing back and forth, and I mentioned my name, and I mentioned my son's name, Claremont, and she says, that's a very unusual name. She says, because I know a young man that I used to teach in school, his name was Claremont. And I said, what school you taught at? She talked about, you know, she mentioned the name of the school, and I'm like, that's my son. She said, you know, I always thought that he came from good parenting, and he must have a father in his life. Because she recognized from the other children base, she says, even though he may be a little feisty, but he was very polite, he was very, you know, calming and so forth. She could actually speak to him and he would pay attention. He wasn't rude or disrespectful. So she knew that there was that kind of there's a father somewhere around, right? Yes, and she talked about good parenting. She talked about, you know, and because she has a father too that is very much involved in her life as well. And I thought to myself, it's a small world, but I just pictured to myself, if I wasn't around, how different her commentary would have been.
Yeah. And even more important than that, how different would your relationship with your children be? You know, and so, you know, we want to build on that today. Interrupt me anytime. But there's an article. I think we had started to look into this. It was the third article. We did two, and we were beginning to number three. This one was called "The Significance of a Father's Influence," and all of these are extensive research articles, and that's why it's important to look into some of these things, because they're not just people just spouting stuff, but these are people who have taken the time to do oftentimes years of research, years of technical study and research into this. And so here's one. It says, here's a Dr. David Popenoe, professor of sociology at Rutgers University and co-director of the National Marriage Project. So listen to what he says here. So fathers are more than just second adults in the home. Involved fathers, especially biological fathers, bring positive benefits to their children that no other person is as likely to bring. They provide protection and economic support and male role models. That's a huge one. They have a parenting style that significantly is different from that of a mother, and that difference is important in healthy child development. So he goes on down on a few of them. So one of them is this. One of the most vital aspects of a dad's contribution to the lives of his kids lies precisely in what Dr. Popenoe calls his significant different parenting style. Men and women are different. As a result, mothers and fathers, parent their child differently. Dads, for instance, love their children more dangerously. We know what that is. So that's, the rougher play. We encourage risk-taking. That's what that does, right? They provide kids with a broader diversity of social experiences. They also introduce them to a wider variety of methods of dealing with life. They tend to stress rules, justice, fairness, and duty in discipline. So there's that rigorous, there's that discipline. In this way, they teach their children the objectivity and consequences of right and wrong. So there's those boundaries, right? They give kids insight into the world of men. They prepare them for the challenges of life and demonstrate by example the meaning of respect between the sexes. In connection with this last point, research indicates that a married father is substantially less likely to abuse his wife or children than men in any other category. Let me just go on a little bit onto this before number two. Fathers encourage competition, engendering independence. Mothers promote equity, creating a sense of security. Dads emphasize conceptual communication, which helps kids expand their vocabulary and intellectual capacities. Moms major in sympathy, care, and help, thus demonstrating the importance of relationships. Dads tend to see their child in relation to the rest of the world. Mom tends to see the rest of the world in relation to their child. Neither style of parenting is adequate in and of itself. Taken together, they balance each other out and equip the up-and-coming generation with a healthy, well-rounded approach to life. Now, I love that because, you see, we need both. See that?
Definitely.
We need both. Now, 82% of studies on father involvement and child well-being published since 1980 found significant association between positive father involvement and offspring well-being. So the greater the personal involvement of a father, the better the outcome of a child. All the stats prove it. All the research proves that. And so we're saying this because in a time we live in, oftentimes it's almost like, you really don't need a dad. We don't need, no.
They tend to rule that out now.
We need to,
so we especially
need to
the double parenting.
Yep. So, and it's interesting. So remember, two women can't replace a man. I'm just saying. We're just saying that. Not to be mean to anything or anyone. No. Just like all the stats prove, what a father brings, a mother can't bring.
Yeah.
And so what a mother brings, a father can't bring.
Yeah.
So you need two. And that's why we're saying this also in this program. Even if you're separated from your spouse or you were never married to your girlfriend or whatever, be in the life of that child. Let that child know that you care about him or her, that you love them, and that you want to be a part of their life. Why? Because your involvement, your instruction, your help, your love, your nurturing, your care will help that child fulfill their purpose. I tell you, so men, you're really important.
So here's a question I have to ask you.
Yeah.
You have a father and mother in the lives of their children. And I mean, the father seems to be pretty much there. I mean, he works a lot, but he seems to be pretty much there. But yet the children just literally stray. How would you? I mean, they don't normally say there's a.
Are both together?
Yeah.
Both husband and
They're
wife?
both together. There's not trouble in the home. There's the harmonious as far as one can see. But yet the children didn't do very well. Would you say at that point that father fell down on the job?
Well, like I said, what you've shared probably isn't enough information. I don't know what the other factors are involved.
No, I mean that's just the basic factors. If you take those basic things, like here's mother and father. It's not like a case where they're constantly fighting at each other. It's not like that. They have a loving relationship. From what we can see from the outside, I don't know what's in the inside. Nobody knows on the inside, right? Yeah. So from what we see on the outside, they have a relatively good relationship. And even from the children, you can tell mother and father have good relationships as well. But the children themselves just seem to, and both parents are in church. Both parents are church goers.
So what do you say happened to the children?
What happened to the children?
Yeah.
What went wrong?
But what are they doing now? I'm asking.
What are they doing now?
Because you're saying it looked like it was good on the inside, but now you're saying
they just strayed. They just strayed in the sense. I mean, all kinds of crazy things are going on with them. Like who got involved and whatever. And I mean, I'm not talking good stuff. I'm talking bad stuff. Okay. They are strayed. So my question is, and I've had this debate with somebody else before. I said somewhere along the line, the father fell down on the job. Somewhere along the line, pops fell down on the job.
Well, the thing is this:
I'm not only saying just dad alone, but dad is the main ingredient to hold the stability of this, especially children. So a mother can only do so much, especially if she has a numerous amount of children. There's not just one or two. Let's say 5, 6 children, for example, or even 4 children, and the child. Or children start to go astray, do their own things, whether smoking, drugs, drinking, staying out late, doing all kinds of stuff.
The reason why I'm saying this, and thanks for going into a little bit detail. Oftentimes, we only know what we're seeing.
Right.
Oftentimes, we're not seeing the real impact, which is what's going on with what we're not seeing. And by that I mean, so in any of our homes, right. we live. That's why. We don't live in glass houses. Right? No one's seeing what's going on every single day, right? Yeah. No one's hearing the communication between a husband and a wife. No one's seeing the interaction between children. And so when you said that, I'm thinking about this wonderful man, Mr. Phillips, who passed away. Well, the thing is this. You will hear his son say this. We couldn't just go out. We had to come back at a certain time.
Right.
One of the sons said he ran literally, and he said maybe 5 kilometers to get back home, to get back in his house
by a certain time.
By a certain time. Well, see, what was that? See, those are discipline. Well, those are sometimes those are the unsaid things,
right?
That instilled discipline, that instilled a certain reverence and a fear and an honor for parents that kept that child intact. Because let's say in those every child in their teenage years, that's their identity is being formed, and those are things. So things are going to be challenged.
Correct.
They're going to push, some of them more than others will push the boundaries. Well, what's going on? What love is being administered by the parents? What boundaries are being enforced by the parents? Does that make sense? Yeah. And the fact is, just because you're a Christian, in some cases, being a Christian means nothing if people aren't doing it. I'm saying, it means nothing. But understand what I'm saying now. By that, I'm only saying in this department now, in this area now, it means nothing if it's not in this area, if you're not doing certain things for your children. By that, I mean, are you, there's someone having a conversation with, that's why this rings loud, where some people, they're known as Christians. So people in the community, that's a
Right,
Christian.
right.
People in their church, particularly their church community, particularly know them as Christians. However, their children, the disconnect is this: they see this mother or father is quote unquote a Christian, and they love God.
Right.
Inside,
The children see
the
something different.
parents, the children, excuse me, see something different. They see an angry, mean, unforgiving, bitter person. Well, they don't reconcile the two.
Right.
See what I'm saying? So I think that's a real big one. I'm not saying that's the answer to this situation here. But oftentimes the inconsistency there drives children away.
Well,
Or the hypocrisy of that.
one of our listeners says that they associate themselves with bad company, and of course, children do have their own minds. Understood.
Yeah.
Coming from a Caribbean
And that's a good
background,
point. I was gonna say
it's
that.
true.
I
Yeah,
was gonna make that.
yeah. Coming from Caribbean background, now I had a dad that was in the home, but was not father, so to say. But my mom was she was a disciplinarian, right? And she held her ground with us. I mean, you just look at him. You do something, and you just look up, and that look alone from your mom drives fear straight to your heart. So, my thing is, and I often felt that if my dad was more involved, I just imagine what all of us would have been above and beyond what we are now today. And I mean, my brothers and sisters are doing very well for themselves, right? But the thing is, I just wondered if my dad was heavily involved, how much more ahead we would have been, all of us, based on what we have right now. What would we have been doing, you know? But at the same time, my mom never dropped the ball,
That's weird. Thank God for mom.
right? Mom never dropped the ball. Mom just decided, you know what? Your dad may not be putting the strap behind, but I will. Right? And my mother didn't play. You know, if she looked at you a certain way, you know, don't go there. And then there's another look that she'll give you, you know, that by the time you get home, you're getting it. That is just two different looks, and we learn to read those looks. You know, that one mean you getting the strap. That one mean don't make that mistake again, right? And I've often wondered about. I see families, church folks, and you see the children doing all kinds of crazy things. And I'm thinking to myself, kids, what's missing? What's missing? Mother and father look great together. I mean, with the children, they all seem to have this loving relationship, and they certainly seem to do, because if you see them where anyone looking, they seem to be fooling around, playing, seem to be having fun. But what is making them drift away from what we know as Christendom or Christ's life to going to this type of lifestyle that makes no sense in what you're seeing? And then who's getting involved in drugs, or who's getting involved in, you know, gang affairs, or daughter just running crazy. And I often wonder, like, I don't get it. I don't get
you
it.
know, like one of the persons, and I was going to say this part to one of our viewers, said, you know, after a certain age, your children are free to make certain decisions.
Correct.
They have a certain time, especially when they're no longer physically under your authority, and particularly in your living space. Then yes, they become certain decisions. The challenge, though, is not so much that time. It's what's happening before that. That's what my focus on right now. In other words, before that time where they've left your house.
Right, okay.
Or the time before they're 18, 19, and 20. A lot of time the challenge is before that, right? I'm just speaking out of the United States. So the thing is this: why are children out on their own at 9, 10, 11, you know, or 13, 14, 15?
Yeah.
I'm gonna even 16.
Yeah.
Why are they telling you when they're coming back in the house instead of you telling them this is what time you're supposed to be back? Now, why are they bad-mouthing you, back-talking you without any repercussions? See, all that now, why are they now, hear me on this, choosing wrong friends, and you continue to keep them, you know, to keep them in those fellowships? Now, I know people are going to say, well, you can't do anything about it. That's the mistake parents make. No, it is up to you to decide. And I'm telling you because this is what we did. What we did. And I know, so remember what we say this. I know some people are going to say, yeah, you know, you're just saying this stuff. Listen, I know what you're saying. But how come, I'm going to say it again, many of our Christian children, why I'm going to be strong on this, many of them are dying. Many of them are getting shot. Many of them are involved in gangs, and they're from Christian parents. Now, I'm saying it with the greatest compassion, and we don't know all the situation. I'm not putting no guilt, no condemnation on anybody. However, I'm saying this, particularly in the time we live, don't tell me that you're letting your 10-year-old, 11-year-old, 12-year-old go out with any kind of friends they want to go out with. No, we stop any of that. In fact, you see, you understand, we didn't just monitor friends. It depends on the house they were going to. If I don't trust the parents, they're not staying there.
Exactly.
They're not making this
That's my
decision.
point, yeah.
So now all of this stuff, and I know we've bought into a lie. We're saying, you know what? At the time we're living, we can't train our children. Well, that's not what the Bible says. It says, you know, you got to train your children. It says you've got to teach them to be honorable. You got to teach them to be respectful. That's your responsibility. In fact, I'm going to talk a bit about that on Sunday. That's part of my message. Because I'm saying we've got to, and it doesn't mean this. When we talk like this, please understand. You might say, well, I wouldn't want to be in his house. No, but part of this is this. What this provides is this. When we say this, when I say this, you've got so much love in your heart for your children that part of this, you don't want to have them go through what they don't need to go through.
Yeah.
That's all we're saying. And so we monitored friendships. We monitored their association. Okay, let me go this way. You see that technology they have? You see that faith?
Oh, man.
Well, you know what? You can take it away. Especially if you're paying the bill. Just take it away. Like, take it away. Shut the computer down. And you know, that's one of the best ways to administer discipline. Because sometimes giving a spank, a swat on the backside, sometimes that you got to know each child differently.
Yeah.
You take that technology away. You tell them no social media, no technology for a week. Well, okay, you see, you've got to, and so you've got to be strong on this. You've got to, and I said, what this is. This is your love for them.
Yeah.
You care about them.
Yeah.
And so you're making things more predictable in their lifestyle, but also you're trying to show them, well, listen, this is good, this is bad.
Yeah.
This is right association, this is bad, good, bad association. And also you're telling them, you know what, at school, you know, find out who are they hanging with? Parent, teacher, where we miss it. You talk about some of these unknown things. I was asked to be part years ago of it was successful parenting for success. And they paired me with another young lady, professional lady, and said, would you go into the school and do this workshop for parents? And one of the concerns was it was a large school, hundreds and hundreds, but there was less than not even 5% of the parents showed up for parent-teacher interview.
Wow.
Now, see, here again, if you don't show up for that, and you got to, and again, we're saying do whatever it takes. Work an extra shift, do whatever it takes. If you can't make it, set a time to stay out, go after school, find out from the principal or find out from the teachers, the homeroom teacher, how is my son doing? How's my daughter? I'm saying this, did you know, and you alluded to this in one of our programs a long time ago, when teachers, I'm not going off the topic, but it's kind of related. When teachers and schools see that a parent,
yes,
a mother, a father is involved, I guarantee you, they look at your child differently. Now, I'm not saying it's intentional, but I guarantee you they do. Because they see this child is not alone. That's almost like a subconscious.
Yeah.
This child has someone backing them.
And
this
they
child has
often,
someone
they often
supporting.
say this too, but I mean, when you go in, is that they're seeing a parent who's concerned about their child, so they put concern into looking after your children. They see parents not being concerned. Why should they be, especially if they're just getting paid to do a job?
There's accountability. See, when they see you, they see, oh, I'm accountable.
Exactly.
This child, little Claremont, has big Claremont.
Yeah, exactly. Like,
go ahead.
one of our listeners says that how she handled her boys the same way. She said, I told them, I'm not your friend, I'm your mother.
That's it. Well,
You hate me now,
That's
but you're
good.
gonna love me later.
That's
My
right.
mama used to say, you can hate me all you want. Later on, you're gonna come back and tell me how much you love me.
But you know, I love the statement.
Yeah.
See, she qualified
I
the
did.
relationship. See that? I'm not your friend.
I'm your mother.
I see. That way, they speak to you in a certain way. No, I'm not your friend.
Yeah.
You see, so yes, we can be friends, but that's a secondary
Secondary,
relationship.
yeah.
I'm first your father, for the late. I'm first your mother.
Yeah.
I love that. That's
Yeah,
a great
exactly. And you know, it's interesting. I was watching. I was Saturday this morning on my morning show. I was watching this video. It's actually, I didn't know it was a prank too, because somebody said, "What's wrong?" The title says, "What's wrong with this picture?" And the video was, this father came out and the mother's there videotaping her 16-year-old daughter being proposed to by a 17-year-old young man, and "Oh, I love you" and all this kind of stuff, and the father's just standing and he's looking, and I could see in him the hurt, but he just don't want to challenge his wife in front of the children, because there's two younger children as well. So he's looking. She says, "Honey, you crying?" And he's just looking at her, and he walked to the balcony and he's leaning over, and he's trying to. I don't know if he's trying to compose himself or he's trying. What is it he's trying to do? But you could look at his face. His face did not look right at all, right? And she's saying, "Honey, do you have anything to say?" And he's just standing there. He's looking at her and he's like, I mean, he figured that he could just knock her over or something, because she's videotaping and so all sung and so happy. Then she turned to the daughter and says, "Honey, do you have anything?" She says, "Yes, April Fools." And it was a joke, right? he shook his head. You could see the relief on his face, right? Now, I picture myself that happening to me. From the get-go. The April Fool's joke wasn't going that far at all. He was off my post right away. I mean, it would have been a totally different reaction. But the thing is, what I look at though is his quietness, because he's trying to restrain what he wanted to do.
Also, it was on video too.
And a video too, right? Because he's trying to think himself, this is on video. I don't know who's watching me, so I got to control myself. But you're talking about children and fathers. When my son was about 7, 8 years, and I told the story before, and I had to spank him for some things he was doing that I think was wrong, especially he's been warned before, and it says, I decided I'm going to discipline him through spanking. So he went, reported it, school got involved, police got involved, the whole 9 yards and all that kind of stuff. But the long and short of that is this. A lot of parents today are so afraid of the system, especially now that you have a system that says if a boy comes home and says, "I feel like a girl today," you cannot challenge that child, because that child could go report you and then you're in trouble. So therefore, you're having these issues to deal with, and parents don't know what to do. And I'm thinking, when you start to stand for your child, because it's still your child, and if they read the laws properly, even though that little law that says that if a child wants to be XYZ, you as a parent still have the rights. Exactly. Right? But a lot of them don't understand their rights. They feel that this is a blanket covered thing, that if a child comes home and say, I feel like a girl today, or I feel like a boy, well, I don't want to listen to you today, you can't force me to do this, that they have certain rights. No, we still as parents have certain rights, so we need to lay down the law and says, you're not going to be this. Get back on. A 9-year-old look at his mother and use a few choice words and tell her what she can do with herself and everything else, and walk off. And I'm thinking to myself, give me 2 minutes or 30 seconds.
But come on, we see, the thing is this. We'll keep going back to when children are older. The seeds of these things is in our parenting from they were young.
Yeah.
So that's the surprise.
Yeah.
You know, that we are supposed to be in touch with our children. We've got to keep in touch with them. We've got to keep in touch with them. And it's not all about just physical discipline. It's our instruction. It's our listening to them. You're listening and watching them emotionally.
You know, there's something that I heard you spoke about, and I don't know if you remember this. You said it briefly once. Moses was put in a basket, sailed down the Nile, the Nile, was found by Pharaoh's daughters. Moses' sister came in and says, "Hey, I can find somebody who can." And I often wondered about that story. I heard you mention it too. I heard it mentioned before. God is so strategic. He made sure the first 5 years of Moses' formative life is reinforced with certain laws, influence. So when he got older, he never forgot it. And that's what the scripture says, train up a child in the way they should go, from when they're old, they will not depart from it. The Catholics even say, give me a child for 7 years.
Yeah, there's the Catholic.
The Catholic for life.
That's it.
So if we let our children go for the first 3 years, 4 years, 5 years of their life, don't expect control later on.
Exactly. So, and that's a great point. So that's what so now you're reinforcing that area of parents from day one, nurturing, teaching, you're instilling values, truths, into that child, and you're preparing them. You're constantly preparing them for what they're going to face outside, whether it's in school, later on in university, in the workforce. They're going to see all these different things, even changing cultures and all that kind of stuff. And they're going to know, they're going to know from home who I am. Now, the thing is this, suppose you never develop. Part of what we're seeing, I'm not saying this all the time, all the answer, but oftentimes the lack of relationship with your children is going to show up in how susceptible they are to the culture.
Right.
So if you lose the relationship, and oftentimes people who are religious, and I don't mean that in a positive way right now, but they're religious people, but they're harsh, they're cold, they're mean. Then what happened? They've never developed any real heart relationship with their child. You see what I'm saying? So they weren't able to truly impart truth into their children. All they heard was do's and don'ts, but not a real heart relationship. So oftentimes they're more susceptible to the culture. Why? Because there was no real love connection inside the home. Right? And so anyway, let's go to point 2. We went off course a little bit. It must have been your fault, not mine. But anyway, hear this.
Take the blame.
Real good. Real good.
Yeah.
In an analysis of over 100 studies on parent-child relationship, this is fitting with what you were just saying, it was found that having a loving and nurturing father was as important for a child's happiness, well-being, and social and academic success as having a loving and nurturing mother. Some studies even indicated that father love was a stronger contributor to some important positive child well-being outcomes. So I'm reading these things because, again, this is what the studies show. Number 3, another one. According to child psychiatrist Kyle Pruitt, a father's more active play style and comparatively slower response to a toddler or infant experiencing frustration serve to promote problem-solving competencies and independence in the child. Listen, in the words of Dr. Pruitt, positive father care is associated with more pro-social and positive moral behavior in boys and girls. There's a few more here. Now, why this is, and we should encourage, this is why it's also important, even in an experience where there's been a separation or a divorce. It's really important that, and it works both ways, so please understand, ladies, I'm not picking on you. It's so important that you don't demonize the father. And I'm not saying at the right time telling your children what happened, but if you make, through your own bitterness, that's why forgiveness is important. And forgiveness is not the same as trust, so please understand, I know what all that means. But if you make your only conversation to your children is he's a bad person, he's terrible, he's, unless he's a criminal, if
Right.
a child is, if the man is a criminal and he can actually put your child in physical danger and oftentimes even mental danger, then that's a different situation. But if you as a mother, if you're always painting such a bad, negative, evil picture about the father of your children who's not with you, then oftentimes you've severed the relationship that father potentially could have with his children. And now see, and that can play into some very negative outcomes. That's not your intention, but that can play into some negative outcomes in that child's life in years to come.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
So I'm not talking about compromising, but it's if you think on the greater picture, I want my child to come out better. And you know what? I'm not going to do it all. And I don't have everything. But that father, he might have messed up, he might have did certain things. But as long as again, it's not going to be a physical danger to that child. It's not going to hurt that child. For whatever reason, it didn't work out between you and your spouse or you and your boyfriend. But you're going to say, you know what? I want to do everything I can to make sure that my child gets the best of his father and that he can contribute to him in a way that I can't. Does that make sense?
Yes,
So
yeah.
I just wanted to share that. That's really, really important. Interrupt me if you want to. Oh, you don't want to? Oh, what a miracle. Okay, listen to this. In the words of Dr. Pruitt, number 4, positive father care is associated with more pro-social and positive moral behavior. I just read that. Number 5, this is borne out by research from the University of Pennsylvania, which indicates that children who feel a closeness and warmth with their father are twice as likely to enter college. Remember we saw that in another study?
Right.
75% less likely to have a child in their teen years. Look at that. 80% less likely to be incarcerated, and half as likely to show signs of depression. To show various signs of depression. So now this is really, really, really important.
Yeah.
Just the positive input that a father can have in a child's life, and we were saying this today because we don't want to minimize that. We don't want our children to miss out. And again, it's going to take some men and women. It's just like how a man could do the same thing. He's been left with a child. He can be bitter and really hurt. But if he's seen for the overall good of that child, he's going to say, you know what? Didn't work out with my wife now. She really hurt me. But it's somehow saying, God, would you please forgive me and forgive her, and I forgive that woman. And you're doing that not just for you're not doing it for the person. You're doing it for you.
For you, yeah.
You're doing it for that child.
Yeah.
And you're doing it, say, you know what? I want that child to get the best of his mother or her mother. And so again, all these, while I'm reading some of these things, because many of you didn't know the impact, just the tangible impact that fathers have in the lives of their children. And it's time for these men, and please share it with men who've been delinquent in their responsibilities, men who just abandoned their children, men who just have children with anyone, and not being, responsible. We need to make sure that men step up. You talk about step up. They don't, sleep on the job. Here's another one. In a 26-year-long study, researchers found that the number one factor in developing empathy in children, look at this, was father involvement. Fathers spending regular time alone with their children translated into children who became compassionate adults. Now they said this here and this. We've only scratched the surface, of course, but you can see where the evidence is taking us. The best studies demonstrate beyond the shadow of a doubt that fathers play an important and irreplaceable role in healthy child development. Look at that. This means that your hunches are right and the messages we're receiving from the media, the culture, and government policy are wrong. So you need to know this. I'm telling you, look at the impact that fathers have. And so please encourage the men in your life. Please encourage the young men who would be fathers to realize what they're getting into in their lives. And we said it probably last time, ladies, before you sleep with a man, make sure you look across and say, well, do I want this man? Is he father material?
Yeah. Is he father worthy?
Is he father
worthy?
In other words, he's going to be here to help me raise and parent this child in a godly fashion. And this is really, really, really important. And so, let's go back. I'm going to wrap this up by saying this. Remember what you said about children, and I'm going to read this scripture. In Ephesians 6, it says, children, obey your parents in the Lord, for this is right. Honor your father and mother, which is the first commandment with promise, that it may be well with you and you may live long on the earth. Listen to this. And you fathers, here's an instruction to fathers. So there's an instruction to children. Then now look at fathers. Fathers, provoke not your children to wrath, but bring them up in the nurture and admonition of the Lord. So that means children don't automatically, go back to the question you asked initially. This is a good answer. Children don't automatically, they don't raise themselves.
Right.
They don't automatically become obedient or respectful or honorable. The first time, listen, you allow them to curse at you, and you don't do something about that, you've set a pattern of behavior. You've allowed it. See that? You've allowed it.
Yep.
The first time now you allow this kind of behavior, and there's no boundaries to them. There's disrespect, there's dishonor, there's disobedience, there's rebellion, there's anarchy. You allow that in your home, that means you're allowing that to grow in that child. See that? See, fathers. What it says? Fathers,
That's it.
provoke not your children to wrath. Bring them up in the nurture and admonition of the Lord. Well, it says fathers. Did it say fathers? It says fathers. Fathers do that.
Yeah, fathers first.
So now, fathers, we know that mothers are in this. We don't have to explain that.
Yeah.
We know mothers. God help us if we didn't have good mothers. But one of the biggest reasons we're having a problem in our society today is the absence of fathers. Not just absence of fathers, but fathers, like you said, use your words, sleeping on the job.
Yeah.
Lying down on the
Yeah.
job. Not teaching their children. Teaching them this is what is acceptable, this is not what is acceptable. This is when you go to bed, this is when you're not going to bed. This is where you'll go, this is where you'll not go. These are the friends you'll have, these are the friends you will not have. This is when you will do your homework now. We're going to monitor that. So holding your children accountable. So good children, they don't come out. It's almost like we're thinking, well, just pop them out and somehow look around 20, 25 years later and automatically they'll turn out to this upstanding citizen. No, there's no saying that. No, it's so, and I tell parents this, you've got to be an adult. It takes, what I'm using, you've got to be an adult to be a parent.
But yeah.
Parenting takes work. Parenting takes involvement. Parenting takes being aware of your child, being connected to their heart, being connected to their emotions, having that openness of relationship where they also can come to you and they're not hiding things from you.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? So that comes if they're not, so there's not this fear in a negative way where they feel, well, they can't come to you. We want to develop that even when they're in their worst situation, they come to you because you can be an answer solution to their life. And so I want to encourage you, again, speaking particularly to fathers today, and men, I want you, and this is no reason why is this, ladies, encourage the fathers in your life, encourage the men in your life. If you're married and you've got a good husband, make sure he knows that. He's involved in your child's life. Encourage him today. Tell him, just tell him thank you. How about the last time you said, thank you for being a good father. Thank you for being a good father to our children, for always being there and being the man, the father that this child is. When was the last time you've done that? Those of you who you've got a father, well, the father isn't in your life, but is involved in your child's life. Call him up and say, what, thank you for taking our son or daughter out, for being there consistently. But also for those of you who don't have that positive relationship, how about doing whatever it takes? As long as that person is not a physical danger or a mental danger to that person, to your children, how about encouraging that father today to say, what, I can't do this alone. I do need your help. Would you be a help? Would you speak? Would you help our children become the very best? And so again, I know this is a big message for our fathers, but because we believe strongly, like the Bible teaches, in the power of fathers. Fathers nurture, fathers instruct, fathers provide a role model, fathers help other men to know how to treat the opposite sex. All of that is built in good fathers. All right. And
you said earlier, parenting are for adults, right? And it brought us. I don't know if you growing up, because you grew up not in the West Indies, but in the West Indies and the Caribbean, we used to play this game a lot. We used to call it Dolly House. You ever heard of that?
I've heard of it.
Yeah.
I've heard of it. I don't know,
Where
same thing. Go ahead.
where the young girl would be playing with a doll,
Yes.
she pretend to be mom, and then this boy pretend to be dad,
Yeah.
And you talk about the adults there, and I remember seeing this.
I'm laughing. I'll tell you why I'm laughing. I'm going to tell you after.
There's this 18-year-old girl. Well, she's just about 17, 18, just had a baby. And the mother had to admonish her, like, you need to stop combing the child's hair that much. It's not a doll. This is real now. This is real life. Because like every hour she'll change the style, she'll change different clothes. Because almost like she was having a doll and she's playing with, right? And when you said that, that brought me back to the thing. She says, you need to stop combing it. You'll get the child's head sensitive, all this constant combing, and right? Because the child is a year old, put on a different clothes, put on a different stuff. This is real life. This is reality.
Yeah.
So it's not a doll, and you have a responsibility now to train this child up. And the mother was saying to her, this is not a doll. Train this child up properly. You know what I'm saying? So when you said that, I remember that. I'm like,
I tell you why I couldn't help stop laughing, because when you said that, I thought about when I was younger. My younger brother and a neighbor, because we were very close to neighbors down the street. You knew everyone on the street. And so the neighbor down the road was called Sharon. Now I'm laughing because Dolly House. Guess what happened? This is worse than this.
Yeah.
They got married. They didn't marry. They're like 8 or 9 or something like that.
right.
And they didn't marry. Her brother,
Uh-huh.
older brother,
Yeah.
Ronald, I never forget. He was the preacher. He
Oh
did
my
the ceremony. So we were all there. That's why that's how I'm sure when you saw that, I thought that talk was that's an amazing time. I remember that. And it was serious stuff. It looked like serious business. Just thinking, my goodness. It's amazing what kids come up with.
But the thing is they're watching, right? We watch as children. We watch. We see what our parents do, and they're watching because they see what others adults do. So we need to set the example.
Exactly.
If we don't set the example for them, and they do whatever they want to do, you see, obviously,
Exactly.
right?
Exactly.
And the first what you call it, the first Bible or anything that anyone is gonna see.
Yeah, it's a person. It's you.
Is you.
Exactly.
So whatever I remember seeing this this regulator stuff is talking about the footsteps of the child,
Yeah.
and he's following behind his dad's footsteps. I don't. You probably
Yes,
most of
I've
us have
seen
seen
the
it, right?
footsteps,
So
yeah.
obviously we need to know and recognize that we need to set the trend. We need to set the pathway because obviously they're gonna follow in our faith.
Now, let me just say this before we go. You know, in all of this, in our admonition of the power of fathers, we just want to encourage everybody who's listening to this. Encourage you that God loves you, He cares about you. You know, the Scripture says, "For God so loved the world," that's you, that He gave His only begotten Son. And today, if you don't know Jesus, we want to encourage you and invite you to receive Jesus as the Lord of your life. All you got to do is say, "Jesus, I receive what you did for me on the cross of Calvary, and I realize that you bore my sins, and I receive you, Jesus, as the Lord of my life." It's as simple as that. So you can come into the kingdom of God, and you can be the person that God created you to be and fulfill His good plan for your life. And so again, thank you so much for tuning in to Rebuilding the Black Family. Again, check us out on Facebook. Also visit our website, foundationforlife.ca. And so until next time, God's richest and best be yours.
Thank you for joining us today on Rebuilding the Black Family with Pastor Carl Lewis and myself, Claremont Humphrey. We trust you found this program helpful. Please give us your feedback on our Facebook page, Foundation for Life Church. Also, visit us at foundationforlife.ca, where you will find some free life-building resources. Join us next time for another edition of Rebuilding the Black Family. Until then, build your life and family on the sure foundation of Jesus Christ.